Well, it looks like Ohio State's going to be down another important player for them on the offensive side of the ball, Trayvon Henderson, tonight on Twitter, saying, "As much as I wanted to finish out the season with my brothers, I know God has a bigger and better plans for me. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. Be back better than ever." So Henderson was Ohio State's, or is, their second leading rusher. Um, and I don't think that this is a shock that he's not going to play in this game. But the problem at Ohio State right now is that Myron Williams, who is also one of Ohio State's top backs, he's been dealing with an injury as well. So you've got at least two high-level Ohio State players that are not going to be at this game in the Peach Bowl. I don't think that. I mean, this is not ideal. You don't cheer for this sort of stuff. It's not good. And I think that we won't really. I mean, Georgia will get sort of started with practices. My understanding is tomorrow. Maybe they're doing it tonight, Wednesday night. Excuse me, Tuesday night. But I'm not aware of that personally. I know tomorrow, I think, is when they start. But I think now, don't you know? But it will be soon here. And Georgia's watching injuries too. A.D. Mitchell, Ladd McConkey, Warren McClendon, and there's a fair amount of guys for Georgia who are also dealing with some stuff. And I just think, to me, this game, Georgia about a touchdown favorite. Um, you don't want. I mean, Henderson's gone for almost 1,800 yards in this year and last year total. So he matters. I mean, he's not a guy that's just some other player. He's a significant player for them. And it just puts more pressure on CJ Stroud in my mind. And they have gifted players, no doubt. But as we saw specifically in the Missouri game for Georgia, you don't want to start missing guys. I mean, first you lose. I think Smile Monday went out first on the defensive side of the ball, and then uh, Jalen Carter. I cannot recall the exact. I know Smile was hurt before Jalen Carter. I think he kept trying to play, but they never could kind of get off the field when they normally would. I mean, stuff adds up after a while. And their run game, Ohio State, it's not horrible. It is. I mean, people think, oh, these guys, throw up and down the field, and they do. That's what they're better at than anything else. But generally speaking, I mean, Ohio State can do a lot of different things. They average about 200 yards rushing. That's not quite top 25, but it's up there. Georgia, as an example, they are 18th at 207. So not a huge difference between the two. Um, they are both explosive offenses, but you just don't want to keep being without guys. I mean, these two teams are separated by about a yard, not even that, um, in total offense for the season. And it feels like with they've got receiver out that's really good. They've now got their their leading rusher, or second leading rusher, excuse me, for this season, but one of their most productive guys on the ground. It's not ideal for Ohio State, and it's going to make their game in Atlanta that much more challenging. Make sure you're picking up, if you want it, DAWGSTRUCTION today. A lot of people are ordering it. I really would like it if I mean, I'll be glad to take the orders next week, but I'm gonna stress out for y'all in terms of me getting the books to you, because I just get concerned that they won't get there in time for Christmas. So we're kind of running out of time to order them. Please, if you're going to order them, please consider ordering them now. If you are interested in picking the book up in person and getting a free T-shirt, you can go to Red Zone in Athens on Clayton. They've got a ton of stuff there. I've talked about that a lot in all of these videos. I know a lot of new people watch us all the time. If you've not seen the book yet, which I would imagine most Georgia fans have not, There's a lot of y'all. Um, Check it out. It's a commemorative edition, hardcover, 80-page look um, at Georgia's championship season in 21. And the question remains, will 22 be a championship season for Georgia as well? If Bill Conley, who is sort of a data nerd at ESPN, the Las Vegas folks have Georgia installed as about a touchdown favorite. Maybe that will go down some. Maybe it will go up. I don't know. Georgia's really good, generally speaking, are than in those games. They do a pretty good job of winning those types of games. As I said in the past, Alabama last year and LSU in 18 are the only two games that Kirby lost in this range in terms of the betting odds. So um, it's gonna be tough for Ohio State to. Uh, it's gonna be tough in Atlanta. It's going to be tough against Georgia anywhere. It's going to be tough in Atlanta. I thought that Ohio State would have more tickets than in the recent past. I thought that they would have more tickets than I currently think they will have, because what's going on is you've got a sort of limit that we didn't used to seem to have on these games, and 16,000 or so for each school. And that's probably going to be what Ohio State gets. They'll bring some more people. They will, but it won't be 25,000. It won't be a third of the stadium. So they're really going to be outnumbered in a way that I thought would not be the case. I thought they would really travel, but I think what's going on right now is it's the tickets are relatively expensive. Our friends at Ticket IQ, the link is down below if you're looking for no frills shopping on that front. But the tickets are still relatively expensive. And, Georgia doesn't have to travel, the fans. They can just roll out of bed on the 31st, a Saturday, no less, and jam the dome. And they did that for Oregon this year. They did it for the Alabama game last year. They did it for the LSU game this year. And the only game that I can recall that Georgia at Mercedes-Benz has not been an overwhelming crowd was the Alabama championship game in 2017. I think that was about 60-40 Georgia, something like that. It was way closer to 50-50 than any other game Georgia's played. The only other notable game that was sort of what's the term decisive was and this was surprising to me, was at the Orange Bowl when Michigan had so many fans. But what happened there is not going to happen here. What happened there was Georgia folks were like, well, we just watched them play in the championship game. We spent a bunch of money on that in Atlanta. We're not going to Miami. If they win, we'll be in Indianapolis. And they were in Indianapolis, let me tell you. I mean, that was a partisan Georgia crowd. So it's a challenging situation for Ohio State. And maybe they'll really step up and show, hey, we are the kings of college football. We're powerful. We're Ohio State. We're the best. This would be, I mean, it is not out of the realm of possibility that happens. If someone is telling you that there's no way Ohio State can win, or just like even knock it down a level from that hyperbole, just saying, hey, I really think, it's gonna be too tough for Ohio State. It's not impossible. Look, it's gonna be hard, but they can do it because they have an exceptional quarterback. I think my concern right now for Ohio State, generally speaking, is the run game is going to have to come from somewhere, and Stroud is not that's not what he excels in. I mean, he can do it, but he is not. That's not his. This is not Deshaun Watson. Okay, in more ways than one, I hope, but that's not really what he does. And having seen him in person, 6'3", 220, he's a thinner guy. I thought he was pretty impressive as a person at the Heisman, but he's gone for 74 total yards this year. The most yardage he had this season was against Northwestern when when Ohio State simply could not do anything in that game on the ground. I mean, they really had a hard time on the ground in that game. So, you know, it's clear he gets, he's gotten sacked 8 times in 13 games or 12 games, excuse me. That's not the end of the world, but he does not run a lot. 35 runs in 12 games. I mean, that's just not that much. It's about 3 per, and about one of those is a sack. So he's I don't know if he's dangerous on the ground. If he is, they've not used him that way. So, but what he is dangerous is he's got 37 touchdowns this season throwing it. I just don't know that you don't want to be one-sided. And against Georgia, you got to run some. I mean, Missouri ran enough to be difficult. Kentucky, it felt like ran enough. It wasn't great, but Missouri was the team that had the most success running it, and Florida a little bit, but it was really Missouri, Oregon. There were not a lot of teams that experienced success against this Georgia run game, and now with Ohio State unfortunately appearing to lose another guy, that's a tough one.